Hello and welcome. It is currently that of 10:07 a.m. Eastern Time, date January the 25th, 2021. My name is Derek. This is the Money Charts channel, all bets trades, and within the like, well, that is each his own risk and their own reward. All right. Starting off with Bitcoin against the US dollar on the date of January the 22nd, price action came down to about 28,000. Thus, albeit barely making a higher low, or lower low rather, from the most previous one on the 11th of January. And it also, again, albeit higher this time, made a higher high on the January 4th low, which came in that of 27,734. We can see the low at 28,800. We've had a little bit of a rally since then as price action barely going down below a newly declining 18 average on the daily and has now put itself back into the band. Holding and staying within it will stop or nullify the declining band from doing just that and declining. And price action staying within this range of about 33,000 low change and below 38,000 is going to keep things in a very, very neutral situation. It is that way now, but secure within neutrality if price action stays firm within the band. If the band is firmly sideways, that would be a very firm neutrality within what occurred before. What occurred before was a tremendous breakout from the previous all-time highs of 20,000 with a move of the better, albeit better than albeit barely doubling. Yeah, so doubling, albeit just barely. Yeah, with a high of 42,000. So gaining like 22,000 and change on a previous high of barely under 20. Big, big, big move. Now, if you shorten out the time frame in here and take a look at this first from the 4-hour term, how much action has this price been doing above the 18 average of highs? Well, I had an opportunity on the 19th of January, almost a week ago now, but obviously not doing it. Getting above the 18 average of highs a couple periods ago, and then a couple sideways, and now breaking out from the newly rising 18, so an attempt in reversing the trend. Also, we can take a look at this more. We can now take a look at Fibonacci from this high and the low in here. And what we can see in here, I've already drawn the numbers up. High divided by low to the exponent of these numbers. Multiply the low again. Therefore, the first number of 31.5, and then basically all threes when I look at the 38.2. So therefore, all threes, yeah, of course, there's the all threes right there. It was hit even as resistance way back in here too. So it was a retest of that level. This to me is a major statement that we're now going to be going to the 61.8. That's a price objective of usually goes extra, so higher than 36,400. Again, I can just put a line around the all threes in here, which would be like roughly around like, I'll put the line in, but just in the general area right around there. If you see a move like this, it comes up to it, it barely breaks it, which is normal to have this break and then consolidate one way or another. Maybe have a couple pause periods, which is what it could be doing, but it could come back to where it came from. Regardless, if this thing only has, this is a normal move, but if it only has that, and then it comes down in here and it falls or fails around the all three number, then this is a failed breakout, and you'd be expecting a decent sized decline as a good chance. But the move to get to this 36 and change, 36,400, does seem to be the probable thing that's going to happen. Meaning whatever move it, well, that would be a gain of about 7%. So basically, I think there's a better chance of a 7% gain compared to like a 7% increase. Of course, the market will do what it does, and then when it gets up to that point, then that's a 61.8 from this low to this high. Now I was covering it before from the high and the low, and it took out the numbers. But if you remember the numbers, you would see now that they're just a little bit lower. So it's still going to be in the process of making that failed move, because as I said on the outset, this move down in here, it's really just a matching hit. I don't even like to call it a failed breakdown really too much, but especially because it finished off a good leg from high to low in here. But I do see how if when it went up here, okay, now that we have this rally, is it able to make a higher low and do all that type of stuff? Well, yeah. And then that's the first step. The second step is to just make a sideways consolidated. And the third one is after good resistance at a key level to break it, which is what it's just done. And now to be able to hold this move and or make it to the next one at 36, basically work towards a concise move to next key level. Okay, next up is Theta, and most coins against the Bitcoin are not doing so well, meaning they're barely up against the dollar, break even, or barely down. Theta, on the other hand, is up against Bitcoin, and Bitcoin's doing very well today against the dollar. We've seen a very interesting volatile day already, as today's low is 5,771 Satoshi, a very unvolatile day yesterday. And the day before that, 57.40. So a matching low to a couple days ago. It's already gotten above the resistance that it had on the last 3 days, as well as the resistance that it hit on January the 13th. And the price against the Bitcoin is back to levels not seen since the end of the first week of the year, or the month even. We've seen a lot of movement within the 18 and such, and we can see the higher lows, how we're showing good strength amongst the highs. To me, seems like it might be ready for a significant break, and very volatile move. You can see it getting up to the 67, now pulling back to 63. And this could just be a case where some quick buying, a good high volume buying of some sort, and the market's just not going to go back up for a little bit. We'll just consolidate a little bit. Or this could be a start of a big buy setup, and heck, we could be seeing like 7, 8, 9,000. That's a fundamental to why a lot of these markets go up, is because there's just a lot of big buyers that buy. And sometimes you could have a big buyers coming in this morning at 5, 6, 7 o'clock, and they're just going to do a small job, if you will, get what they need at this time, and they're pretty much done. And therefore, when you get these rallies that will come in, they'll almost certainly always make lower highs, and markets will just consolidate back to some sort of fairish price. And in that, you can almost see maybe like 6,000, maybe it is going to be 63. Making the key thing now would be like for Fibonacci would be a high of, if you're going to calculate this move, this low to this high. So we have a high at 67.44 and a low of 58.84, which puts in the key numbers on the way down. First was 65.30, but that's so passe now. 6,400 and 6,200. So within today's intraday session, 6,400 was not an area of support. That 62 was. And 64 was an area of resistance. It's coming back down. It hasn't been down yet and usually they pierce extra, not here. 62.17. But as it is, we've established a low which works out with this breakout support area, or support on the way up. And then the lower high to this, matching low, but is it? Because we still haven't had much of a rally. If this thing has decent sized move or enough time, I'll count this, I suppose, as a low, but heck, it hasn't had a great move short term yet. So if I see that, but it's had a decent move to say, hey, this is like 3 periods of wow, low volatile moves within it. So if it falters from here and I see it coming, breaking down at 62, 66, I never have the guts to make these short plays myself, where I could take some Theta or whatever coin I'm looking at, sell it on the market, and then buy it back at a cheaper price and thus get more, or buy it back for the cheaper price I sold it for. But I would see that situation coming into play if it's going to break through. But it's a two-way street in a sense. That's the negative downside, and the positive upside is you see it getting above the 18 average of highs noticeably. And on that, you'd be like giving it, okay, it's up to like, someone buys it up to 64.33. For all I know, it could be 66.33 in about 6 minutes, as that's how fast these markets can move when they're ready to go. And we'll finish it off within Theta against the US dollar, currently in at $2.17, and what a move it has been, breaking this level of resistance at around $2. And it started doing so this morning at basically 5 o'clock, going from 2 all the way up to 2.3, or about a 15% move. It's an okay move, but that's it. It's not that big of one. So we know that if it's just, again, that small buy that I talk about, then yeah, this will be probably a key top, depending, of course, the Bitcoin prices moving forward. And within that, that means we would settle down a bit. But we got the big volume coming in. This could be a possibility again where we see 3-4 fast or we don't. But in order for me to see the possibility to be very high that we see the 3-4, I first need to see it get really above 224, 225. At least on that time frame. On the hourly time frame, this is already in an uptrend right now. It's had a little bit of intra-move consolidation, as we can see within the last this period having a line moving down. And this one's still just holding in there, but still nicely above the area from where we broke out from and nicely above previous resistance as well. On the 4-hour term, it's been relatively choppy here and there, and it's at a key level of significant resistance, and it can still climb a little bit higher up to about 2.5. But it's at the early stages of it, because the lowest you could say would be this high on January the 9th, which everything coincides with it. This little level, maybe not so much this one, but this, all of these two highs here, it's gotten above that. So we're in that range. And when you see that, one of the things, if you're not going to leave the range to the upside, thus not break 2.5, you would at least like to see it support. Maybe like, I'd be looking at somewhere like around 203. Oh yeah, $2, but 203 here, where we had this resistance in here, because we come here, we pull back to like 177, and even a bit further down on January the 11th. But support has been betweening that of 188 and 150, we'll say, and most solid support at around 1 7/9 or 1.777, whatever. So if it can hold a much higher number, which would be about 2 on this move, I mean, that would be a progressive situation moving forward. And I'd like to see it maybe go up a little bit higher to do that, maybe closer to like 240, 250. But if it can hold that, that would be just fantastic. Now, the daily term is where it gets really, really interesting to me, because it's all a tent base as it is, but wow, if it makes it. Theta's here at like $0.75, and it goes up to like 2 and change. What a move. Gets above the 18 average of highs on December the 14th, pulls back down to it January the 4th, and really since then it has maintained itself in that correctionary phase. Any decent sized moves that gets up to that 240 is going to be like, this is extremely weak resistance as it is. Now, within the short term, if you have this high in here, well, if we, within like say 6, 7, 8, 9 days, it comes back and it does go to 2, well, that would mean the 18 average would barely start to rise, and price action would show strength amongst the 18 average of highs, if that happens. But if it comes up to this 2.5 level, I mean, if it breaks it convincingly, and convincing would be like closer to 280 plus, even really 285 to 3, then wowzers, baby, this thing is probably going to be poised for a fantastic, fantastic move. As we had this little small correction, was due for something right now, but that's still not much of a correction. But is this move even over? Because yeah, it breaks out. No, the answer quite frankly might be no, the move's not over, and we're not going to have a significant type correction until the price action might be much, much higher. And the retest of this level, January 21st and 22nd, just like Bitcoin at one level, stayed above a previous point, but I suppose that Bitcoin went below this one, but it did hold it though. That was huge. And then to maintain itself from this higher low and a couple pause days and what it's doing now, to me, I like the setup for Theta. I think it's looking fantastic. Price will do what it does, and thank you for tuning in. And of course, I'll just react to it when price does what it does. I looked at this morning, do I sell a bit of Theta? The answer to me was no, not yet. I like to see this have a nice, because I think it's going to, a nice gain that should overperform coins. And then when it has its move, at that stage, I'll decide risk-reward management, the actions that I take. Thank you for tuning in. Have yourself a great day. Bye-bye.